What would you do if the love of your life contacted you after 20 years of silence? What if they were dying and had kept a secret that would change everything you thought you knew about your past? For Elon Musk, that impossible moment arrived. On an ordinary Tuesday morning in Austin, Texas, hidden among thousands of business emails was a message that would make the world's most powerful man question everything he had built. The sender was Amara Johansson, a wildlife veterinarian from South Africa. She was his first love, his teenage sweetheart, the girl who had challenged his dreams of reaching Mars by asking a simple question: what about the animals here on Earth? Now she was reaching out with devastating news about her health and a secret she had carried for 2 decades. A secret about a choice she made when they were both 18 years old. A choice that would explain why Elon Musk, despite all his success, had never found lasting love. What happened next would shock the world and prove that sometimes the most important journeys aren't to other planets. They're back to the place where your heart first learned to dream. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Tesla Gigafactory in Austin, Texas. It was March 15th, 2024, and Elon Musk stood in his glass office on the 5th floor. He watched thousands of workers below making electric cars that would help save the planet. His desk was covered with papers about SpaceX's next Mars mission. Red planet photos filled his computer screen. For 20 years, getting to Mars had been his biggest dream. Today felt like any other day in his busy life. Mr. Musk, his assistant, Sarah Chun, knocked on the door. She held a tablet in her hands. "I have your morning emails. Most are about the rocket tests next week." Elon nodded without looking up. "Just put them on my desk, Sarah. I'll read them later." "There's one that seems different," Sarah said. Her voice was quiet. "It's not from a business person or a reporter." The subject line says, "From Nell Sprut, with love, Amara." Elon's pen stopped moving. His heart skipped a beat. Amara. He hadn't heard that name in 20 years. But he remembered it like yesterday. "Amara?" he whispered. Sarah placed the tablet on his desk. "Do you know who sent it?" Elon's hands shook as he picked up the tablet. The email was sent from South Africa, from a place called Skukuza Rest Camp in Kruger National Park. His fingers trembled as he opened it. "Dear Elon, I hope this email finds you well. I know you must get thousands of messages every day. I almost didn't send this one. But life is short, and I have something important to tell you. My name is Amara Johansson. We knew each other a long time ago in Pretoria. I was the girl who worked at the bookstore on Church Street. You probably don't remember me, but I remember you. I've watched you on TV over the years. I've seen you build amazing companies. I've seen you reach for the stars. I'm so proud of what you've become. You always said you'd change the world, and you did. I'm writing because I work with animals now. I'm a wildlife doctor here in Kruger National Park. I help save rhinos and elephants from poachers. It's been my life's work for the past 15 years, but I'm sick, Elon. The doctors say I have a rare disease that affects my nervous system. They think I have maybe 6 months left. I'm not writing to make you sad. I'm writing because I have no regrets about my life, except one: that I never got to tell you how much our friendship meant to me. Those days in Pretoria were the happiest of my life. You made me believe that 2 young people could really make the world better. I don't expect you to write back. I know you're busy saving the world and planning trips to Mars, but I wanted you to know that somewhere in Africa, someone is thinking of you and cheering you on. Your old friend, Amara.s. I still have that book you gave me, Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I read it every year and think of you. Elon read the email 3 times. His eyes filled with tears. Memories flooded back like a river breaking through a dam. Amara Johansson. The girl with bright green eyes and long brown hair. The girl who loved animals more than anything. The girl who challenged his ideas and made him think differently. The girl who was his first love. That he remembered their last night together in December 1989. They were 18 years old. He was leaving South Africa the next day to start a new life in Canada. They sat under the stars in her backyard, making promises to write letters and visit each other. "I'll never forget you," he had whispered. "I'll never forget you either," she had whispered back. But life got in the way. Letters were never sent. Visits never happened. 20 years passed like a dream. Now she was dying. And she was alone. Sarah watched her boss with concern. She had never seen him cry before. "Mr. Musk, are you okay?" Elon wiped his eyes. "Sarah, cancel all my meetings today. Cancel everything for the rest of the week. But sir, you have the board meeting tomorrow and the rocket test on Thursday. Cancel them all. Elon's voice was firm. I need to make a phone call. Actually, I need to make several phone calls. Sarah nodded and left the office. Elon stared at the email for a long time. Outside his window, the Texas sun climbed higher in the sky. Workers continued building cars that would help save the planet. But all Elon could think about was a girl from long ago. A girl who taught him that saving the world meant more than just reaching for the stars. A girl who was now fighting for her life in the heart of Africa. He looked at his phone. His finger hovered over the reply button. What do you say to someone you loved and lost? What do you say when 20 years have passed? What do you say when it might be too late? The cursor blinked on the empty screen, waiting for words that could change everything. But Elon couldn't type. Not yet. His mind was spinning back through time. Back to 1988. Back to Pretoria, South Africa. Back to when he was 17 years old and the world seemed full of impossible dreams. He closed his eyes and remembered. Pretoria, South Africa, October 1988. 17-year-old Elon Musk pushed open the door to Page Turner's bookstore on Church Street. The little bell above the door rang softly. He loved this place. It was quiet and peaceful, not like school where bigger kids picked on him every day. Elon was tall and skinny with messy brown hair. He carried a worn backpack full of computer programming books. Most kids his age were playing rugby or talking about girls. Elon preferred reading about rockets and robots. Can I help you? A voice asked. Elon looked up. Behind the counter stood a girl about his age. She had bright green eyes and long brown hair tied back in a ponytail. She wore a simple blue dress and a name tag that said Amara. I'm looking for the science fiction section, Elon said quietly. He was always nervous talking to pretty girls. Follow me, Amara smiled. I love science fiction too. What kind of books do you like? As they walked between the tall bookshelves, Elon felt his shyness melting away. I like Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke. Stories about space and the future. Here we are. Amara stopped in front of a shelf packed with colorful books. Have you read the Foundation series? Elon's eyes lit up. It's my favorite. The idea of using math to predict the future is amazing. I just finished reading it, Amara said. But I have a question. In the books, humans spread across the galaxy. But what about the animals back on Earth? What happens to them? Elon had never thought about that before. Well, I guess maybe we could bring some animals with us to other planets. Amara shook her head. That's not the point. We should learn to take care of our own planet first, before we go looking for new ones. This was not what Elon expected to hear. Most people thought his space dreams were silly, but Amara was challenging him to think differently. What do you mean? He asked. I volunteer at the Johannesburg Zoo on weekends, Amara explained. I see animals that are disappearing forever. Rhinos, elephants, cheetahs. Shouldn't we save them before we worry about Mars? Elon stared at her. No one had ever made him think about space travel this way. I never thought about it like that, he admitted. Amara smiled. Maybe you should come to the zoo with me sometime. I could show you what I mean. That was how it started. The next Saturday, Elon took the bus to Johannesburg Zoo. He found Amara feeding baby meerkats in the children's section. She wore old jeans and a khaki shirt with animal food stains on it. You came, she said happily. I wasn't sure you would. I keep thinking about what you said, Elon replied. About taking care of Earth first. For the next 3 hours, Amara showed him around the zoo. She knew every animal's name and story. She told him about the white rhino calf, whose mother was killed by poachers. She showed him the cheetah that was born blind but learned to hunt by sound. These animals trust humans to protect them, Amara said as they watched elephants playing in a pool. We brought them here. Now it's our job to keep them safe. Elon watched the elephants splashing water on each other. How do you know so much about animals? I want to be a veterinarian, Amara said. I want to work with wild animals in Africa. Save species that are disappearing. That's a great dream, Elon said. My dream is to build rockets and go to Mars. Why Mars? Amara asked. Elon thought for a moment. Because I want to make sure humans survive. If something bad happens to Earth, we need a backup plan. But what if we just took better care of Earth instead? Amara asked. What if we used all that rocket money to stop pollution and save animals? They walked to a bench near the lion exhibit. The afternoon sun was warm on their faces. "You know what I think?" Amara said. "I think your Mars dream and my animal dream are connected. We both want to protect life. You want to protect human life. I want to protect all life." Elon had never met anyone who understood him this way. At school, kids called him weird for reading about space. His father, Errol, was often angry and difficult to please. But Amara listened to his ideas and made them better. "Would you like to study together sometime?" Elon asked nervously. "I mean, for school. I could help you with math and science." "I'd love that," Amara said. "And I could teach you about animals and conservation." Over the next year, they became best friends. Every day after school, they met at the Pretoria University Library. Elon helped Amara with physics and chemistry. Amara taught him about ecology and animal behavior. They took long walks through the Voortrekker Monument grounds, talking about their dreams. Elon shared his plans to leave South Africa and study in America or Canada. Amara talked about her acceptance to veterinary school at the University of Pretoria. "I wish you didn't have to leave," Amara said one evening as they sat on the monument steps watching the sunset. "I wish I could stay," Elon replied. "But I can't do military service. I won't fight in the army for apartheid." Amara nodded. She understood. The South African government was terrible. Young men had to join the military or go to prison. Elon's only choice was to leave the country. "Maybe I could come visit you in Canada," she said hopefully. "Maybe I could come back and visit you," Elon said. They both knew it wouldn't be that simple. But they were 18 years old, and love made everything seem possible. By December 1989, their friendship had become something deeper. They held hands during their walks. They shared their first kiss under the jacaranda trees on campus. They were young and in love, and the world felt full of magic. But Elon's departure date was getting closer. He had his visa to Canada. His plane ticket was booked for December 28th. "I don't want you to go," Amara whispered on their last night together. They sat in her parents' backyard, looking up at the stars. "I don't want to go either," Elon said. "But I have to. You understand, right?" Amara nodded, but tears ran down her cheeks. "Promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll write letters. Promise me you won't forget about the girl who challenged your Mars dreams." Elon took her hands in his. "I promise I'll write every week. I promise I'll never forget you. And I promise that someday, when I'm successful, I'll come back for you." "I promise I'll write back," Amara said. "I promise I'll become the best veterinarian in Africa. And I promise I'll never stop believing in your dreams." They kissed under the Southern Cross constellation. Two young people making promises they meant with all their hearts. The next morning, Elon left for Canada. Amara stood at the airport gate, waving goodbye until his plane disappeared into the clouds. Back in his Austin office, Elon opened his eyes. The memories felt so real, he could almost smell the jacaranda flowers. He could almost hear Amara's laugh echoing through the years. But 20 years had passed. Letters were never written. Promises were broken by the busy demands of life. Now she was dying, and he had never come back for her. The cursor still blinked on the empty screen, waiting for words that could change everything. This time, Elon began to type. "Dear Amara, I remember everything. The bookstore, the zoo, the jacaranda trees. I remember you challenging my dreams and making them better. I remember promising to write letters that I never sent that I'm so sorry." Elon stopped typing. His throat felt tight. How could he explain 20 years of silence? How could he make up for broken promises? He deleted the message and started again. Toronto, Canada, January 1999. Year. Old Elon Musk sat in his tiny dorm room at Queen's University. Snow covered the windows. The room was freezing cold, and he could barely afford food. But he was free from South Africa's military service, and that was all that mattered. On his desk sat a blank piece of paper. For weeks, he had tried to write a letter to Amara. But what could he say? That he was lonely? That he missed her? That he was living on hot dogs and oranges because he had no money? He didn't want her to worry about him. He wanted to be successful first. Then he would write. Then he would go back for her. "I'll write when I have good news to share," he told himself. But good news took longer than expected. Pretoria, South Africa, March 1990. Amara Johansson sat in her veterinary school classroom, taking notes about animal diseases. It had been 3 months since Elon left for Canada. She checked her mailbox every day, hoping for a letter that never came. Her roommate, Linda, found her crying in their dorm room one evening. "Maybe he's just busy with school," Linda said gently. "Moving to a new country is hard." "He promised he would write," Amara whispered. "He promised he wouldn't forget me." "Maybe his letters got lost in the mail," Linda suggested. Amara wanted to believe that. But as weeks turned into months, hope began to fade. She threw herself into her studies. She volunteered at animal shelters every weekend. She tried to forget about the boy who had captured her heart and then disappeared. But late at night, she would look at the stars and wonder if Elon was looking at the same sky. Stanford, California. 1995, Elon Musk dropped out of his Stanford graduate program after just 2 days. He had a bigger dream now. He wanted to start an internet company with his brother Kimball. "Are you sure about this?" Kimball asked. "You just got accepted to Stanford. Dad is going to be furious." "The internet is the future," Elon said. "We have to move fast or we'll miss our chance." They started a company called Zip2. It was a directory service for newspapers. Elon worked 18 hours a day, sleeping in the office. He was building his first fortune, but he was also building walls around his heart. Sometimes, late at night while coding, he would think about Amara. He would imagine writing to her. "Dear Amara, I'm successful now. I kept my promise. I'm coming back for you." But he never sent the letter. There was always more work to do. Always another goal to reach. University of Pretoria, 1995 DR. Amara Johansson graduated at the top of her veterinary class. She was 25 years old and ready to save Africa's animals. She had been accepted for a research position at Kruger National Park. Her parents threw her a graduation party. Friends and family celebrated her achievement. But Amara felt empty inside. She kept hoping Elon would somehow appear, like in the movies. "You look sad," her mother said. "This should be the happiest day of your life." "I'm fine, Mom," Amara lied. "Just tired from studying." But she wasn't fine. She was successful, just like she had promised. But the person she had made the promise to was gone. Palo Alto, California, 1999, Elon Musk sold Zip2 for $307 million. He was suddenly very rich. He used the money to start X.com, which would later become PayPal. He was featured on magazine covers. Reporters called him a genius. He was living his dream of changing the world through technology, but success felt lonely. He dated other women, but none of them understood him the way Amara had. None of them challenged his ideas or made him think differently. One night, he tried to find Amara online, but in 1999, the internet was still small. He found no trace of her, no email address, no phone number, nothing. "Maybe it's better this way," he told himself. "We're different people now. We've both moved on." Kruger National Park, 2002 DR. Amara Johansson knelt beside an injured baby elephant. Poachers had killed its mother for her tusks. The baby was only 3 months old and couldn't survive alone. "We'll take care of you," Amara whispered to the scared animal. "I promise." She had been working at Kruger for 7 years. She had helped save hundreds of animals. Her research on rhino breeding was being used across Africa, but she was also lonely. She lived in a small house near the park headquarters. She had no husband, no children, just her work and her animals. Sometimes, tourists would recognize her name from research papers. "Dr. Johansson, you're famous. You're the rhino lady." She would smile and thank them, but fame meant nothing when you had no one to share it with. Los Angeles, California, 2002, Elon Musk married Justine Wilson, a writer he had met at Queen's University. She was smart and beautiful. They had a big wedding in California. "I love you," Elon told her at the altar, and he meant it. But part of his heart was still in South Africa, buried under jacaranda trees. Their first son, Nevada, was born in 2002. Elon was so happy. Finally, he had a family. Finally, he could stop running from the past. But tragedy struck. Nevada died of sudden infant death syndrome when he was only 10 weeks old. Elon and Justine were devastated. "We'll get through this together," Justine said through her tears, but grief built more walls around Elon's heart. He worked even harder, starting Tesla and SpaceX. He poured all his pain into building electric cars and rockets. Johannesburg, South Africa, 2003, Amara Johansson married Dr. James Malherbe, a fellow conservationist. James was kind and gentle. He understood her passion for animals. He loved her completely. "I know you had someone special before me," James said on their wedding day. but I promised to love you enough for both of us." Amara smiled and kissed him. James was a good man. He deserved all of her heart. But late at night, she would sometimes dream about a skinny boy with messy hair who wanted to go to Mars. Hawthorne, California, 2008. Elon Musk almost lost everything. Tesla was nearly bankrupt. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches. His marriage to Justine was falling apart. He sat in his empty office at 3 a.m., wondering if he had made the wrong choices. Maybe he should have stayed in South Africa. Maybe he should have married Amara and lived a simple life. But then he thought about climate change, about the need for electric cars, about making life multiplanetary. "I can't give up," he told himself. "Too many people are counting on me." He invested his last $40 million into Tesla. SpaceX's 4th rocket launch finally succeeded. Slowly, both companies began to recover, but success came at a cost. His marriage ended in divorce. He barely saw his children. He was changing the world, but he was also losing himself. Kruger National Park, 2016. Amara Malherbe watched her husband James playing with their 2 children, Emma and Lucas. They were having a picnic near the Sabi River. It was a perfect family moment. "Look, Mommy," Emma pointed at the sky. "An airplane." Amara looked up. The plane was heading toward Johannesburg. For a moment, she wondered if Elon Musk was on it. She had seen him on TV, giving speeches about Tesla and SpaceX. "He made it," she whispered. "He kept his promise to change the world." James noticed her distant expression. "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing important," Amara said. "Just wondering about old friends." But that night, she looked up Elon's speeches online. She was proud of him. He had become everything he dreamed of becoming. She almost sent him an email. But what would she say? "Hi, remember me? I'm married. Now with kids. Just wanted to say congratulations." It seemed silly. He probably didn't remember her anyway. Austin, Texas, 2023. Elon Musk stood in his new Tesla factory, watching robots build cars. He was the richest man in the world. He had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. But he was also 52 years old and tired. He had been married and divorced 3 times. He had 10 children with 3 different women. He had built amazing companies, but he had never built lasting love. Sometimes, late at night, he would look at Mars through a telescope. The red planet was beautiful and distant, just like the dreams of his youth. He thought about Amara often, wondered what had become of her, wondered if she was happy, wondered if she ever thought about him. But 20 years had passed. It was too late to go back. Skukuza Rest Camp, December 2023. DR. Amara Malherbe sat in her doctor's office, listening to words that would change everything. "I'm sorry," the doctor said. "It's a rare autoimmune disease. It affects the nervous system. Without treatment, you have maybe 6 months." Amara nodded calmly. She had faced death before. Charging elephants, angry poachers, venomous snakes. But this was different. This was final. "There are experimental treatments," the doctor continued. "But they're expensive and not guaranteed to work." "I understand," Amara said. "I need time to think." That night, she sat alone in her small house. James had died of COVID-19 in 2021. Emma was studying in London. Lucas was working in Cape Town. She was alone with her thoughts. She opened her laptop and searched for Elon Musk. His face appeared on the screen. Older now, with gray hair and tired eyes, but still the same person who had captured her heart. 35 years ago. "Life is short," she whispered. "Too short for regrets." She opened a new email and began to type. Back in Austin, Elon finished reading his own email draft. It was honest, but incomplete. How could he explain 20 years of silence? How could he make up for broken promises? He looked at Amara's original message again. She wasn't asking for explanations. She wasn't angry about the past. She was simply reaching out, one old friend to another. Maybe that was enough. Maybe it was never too late to start again. Elon deleted his draft and wrote something simpler. "Dear Amara, I remember everything. And I'm coming to see you. Your friend always." Elon. He pressed send before he could change his mind. The email disappeared into cyberspace, carrying 20 years of regret and hope across the world to South Africa. Elon stared at his computer screen, his heart pounding like a teenager's. What had he just done? He was one of the most powerful men on Earth, yet he felt completely helpless. He had promised to visit a dying woman he hadn't spoken to in 2 decades. A woman who might not even want to see him. The clock on his wall ticked loudly in the silence. 10:47 a.m. in Austin meant it was 6:47 p.m. in South Africa. Amara might be having dinner, or feeding animals, or already asleep. Elon tried to focus on work, but his mind kept wandering. He opened reports about Tesla's latest quarterly earnings, but the numbers blurred together. He reviewed SpaceX rocket designs, but all he could think about was Amara's green eyes. 11:30 p.m., he was still at his desk. Most of the Gigafactory workers had gone home hours ago. The building was quiet except for the hum of machines that never stopped running. His phone buzzed. A text message from his current partner, Claire Boucher, better known as the musician Grimes. They had been together on and off for several years, sharing a complicated relationship and 2 children. Still at the office? You missed dinner again. X is asking for daddy. XAEXI was their son, now 3 years old. Elon felt a pang of guilt. He was always promising to be a better father, but work kept pulling him away. He texted back, "Sorry, important business came up. We'll make it up to you both tomorrow." But it wasn't business. Not really. It was something much more personal. At midnight, Elon finally drove home to his Austin mansion. The house was dark and quiet. Claire and the children were asleep. He poured himself a glass of water and sat on his back porch, looking up at the stars. The Southern Cross constellation wasn't visible from Texas, but he remembered it clearly from South Africa. He remembered sitting under those same stars with Amara, making promises they were too young to keep. His phone buzzed again. This time it was an email notification. Elon's hands trembled as he opened it. The sender was Amara Johansson. "Dear Elon, I can't believe you actually wrote back. I was so nervous sending that first email. I thought you might not remember me, or might be too busy to respond. When I saw your name in my inbox, I started crying. Happy tears, though. It's been so long since I felt truly happy about something. You said you're coming to see me. You don't have to do that. I know how busy you are. I know you have companies to run and rockets to build. I was just happy to hear from you after all these years. But if you really want to come, I would love to see you again. I'm not the same person you knew in Pretoria. I'm older now, and sick, and probably not very good company. But I still remember everything about our time together. I work at Skukuza Rest Camp in Kruger National Park. It's about a 4-hour drive from Johannesburg Airport. I have a small house here where I live alone. My husband James died 2 years ago from COVID. Our children are grown up and living their own lives. I want you to know that I'm not afraid of dying. I've had a good life. I've saved animals and helped protect endangered species. I've been a mother and a wife. I've traveled to beautiful places and met amazing people. My only regret was losing touch with you. You were my first love, Elon. My first everything. You taught me to dream big and think differently. You made me believe that 2 young people could change the world, and you did change the world. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished. Every time I see a Tesla car or hear about SpaceX, I smile and think, that's my friend Elon. He kept his promises. I have something important to tell you when you come. Something I should have told you 20 years ago. I hope you won't hate me for keeping it secret for so long. Your friend always, Amara.s. I still read Foundation every year, and I still think about that argument we had about Mars versus saving Earth. I think we were both right. Elon read the email 5 times. Each time, one sentence stood out more clearly. I have something important to tell you. What secret had Amara been keeping for 20 years? What could be so important that she needed to tell him in person? His mind raced through possibilities. Maybe she had tried to contact him over the years, but couldn't reach him. Maybe she had named an animal after him at the zoo. Maybe she had written a book about their time together. Or maybe it was something bigger. Something that would explain the sadness he heard between the lines of her email. Elon couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., he found himself in his home office, researching flights to South Africa. Then he stopped himself. This wasn't a trip he could plan like a business meeting. This was personal. He walked to his son's bedroom and watched X sleeping peacefully. The little boy looked so innocent and calm. Elon wondered if he would ever be able to explain to his children why he had to take this trip. At 4 a.m., he called his brother Kimball in Colorado. Kimball was the only person who remembered Amara from the old days. Elon, it's 4 in the morning. Are you okay? Kimball, I need to ask you something. Do you remember Amara Johansson from Pretoria? There was a long pause. The girl from the bookstore? Your first girlfriend? Of course I remember her. You were crazy about her. She contacted me. She's dying, Kimball. Some kind of rare disease. She wants to see me. Another pause. And you want to go see her? I think I have to. I made promises to her that I never kept. I need to make this right. Kimball's voice was gentle. Elon, you were 18 years old. You can't blame yourself for choices you made as a teenager. But I can do something about it now, Elon said. I can show up for her when it matters most. What about your companies? Your family? You can't just drop everything and fly to Africa. I've been dropping everything for business trips my whole life, Elon replied. Maybe it's time I dropped everything for something that actually matters. Kimball was quiet for a moment. She must have been really special. She still is. Then go, Kimball said. Life's too short for regrets. But be careful, brother. Old loves can be dangerous. They make us remember who we used to be instead of who we've become. After hanging up, Elon sat in his dark office and thought about Kimball's warning. Who had he become? He was successful beyond his wildest dreams. He had money, power, and influence. He could probably solve any problem in the world, except he couldn't solve the most important problem of all. He couldn't bring back time. He couldn't undo 20 years of silence. He couldn't cure Amara's disease or take away her pain. But maybe he could do something else. Maybe he could show up. Maybe he could be present for someone who had mattered to him more than anyone else. At 5 a.m., Claire found him still sitting in his office. You've been up all night, she said, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. What's wrong? Elon leaned into her embrace. Claire was a good person. She deserved honesty. Someone from my past reached out, he said carefully. Someone who's sick. I need to go see them. In South Africa? How did you know? Claire smiled sadly. You get that look in your eyes sometimes when you talk about home. Like you left something important behind. I'm sorry, Elon said. I know this is complicated. Everything about us is complicated, Claire replied. But if this person matters to you, then you should go. Just promise me you'll come back. I promise. And promise me you'll figure out what you're really looking for. Because I don't think it's just about saying goodbye to an old friend. Elon nodded. Claire was right, as usual. This trip wasn't just about Amara. It was about the part of himself he had lost somewhere along the way. The part that believed in love and promises and dreams that were bigger than money or fame. 6 a.m. He called his assistant Sarah. I need you to clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks, he said. All of it. Even the board meeting. Everything. And book me a flight to Johannesburg. I'm going home. As the sun rose over Austin, Elon Musk began planning the most important trip of his life. Not to Mars or the moon or any other planet, but back to the place where his heart had learned to dream. Back to the woman who had taught him that saving the world meant more than just reaching for the stars. 2 days later, Elon Musk sat in his private jet high above the Atlantic Ocean. The plane was sleek and modern, with leather seats and advanced technology. But as Africa grew closer below the clouds, he felt like that nervous teenager from long ago. His security team, led by a man named Marcus Webb, sat quietly in the back of the plane. They had argued about this trip for hours. Sir, we haven't had time to do proper security checks, Marcus had said. South Africa can be dangerous, especially for someone as famous as you. I'm not going as a celebrity, Elon replied. I'm going as a friend. But even as he said it, Elon knew it wasn't that simple. He was one of the most recognizable people on Earth. Everywhere he went, cameras followed. This trip would be different. This trip was private. The plane landed at Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg at 6 a.m. local time. As they descended through the clouds, Elon saw the city of his youth spread out below. Some parts looked the same as he remembered. Others had changed completely. Welcome home, Mr. Musk, the pilot said as they touched down home. Elon hadn't thought of South Africa as home in decades. But something about the red African soil and endless sky made his heart beat faster. The airport was busy with morning travelers. Elon pulled his baseball cap low over his eyes and walked quickly through the terminal. A few people looked at him. Twice, but no one approached. Good. He wanted to stay invisible for as long as possible. His security team had arranged for a black SUV with tinted windows. As they drove through Johannesburg streets, Elon pressed his face to the glass like a child. Take me through Pretoria first, he told the driver. I want to see something. The drive to Pretoria took an hour through morning traffic. The city looked different but familiar. New buildings stood where empty lots used to be. Old buildings had been painted bright colors, but the mountains in the distance looked exactly the same. "Stop here," Elon said when they reached Church Street. He got out of the car and walked slowly down the sidewalk. There, between a coffee shop and a cell phone store, stood Page Turner's bookstore. It looked smaller than he remembered, but the same little bell still hung above the door. Elon pushed the door open. The bell rang softly, just like 35 years ago. An elderly Indian man sat behind the counter, reading a newspaper. He looked up when Elon entered. "Can I help you?" the man asked. "I used to come here as a teenager," Elon said quietly. "There was a girl who worked here, Amara Johansson." The man's eyes lit up. "Amara? Oh yes, I remember her well. Lovely girl. Very smart. She worked here in the late 1980s. Do you know what happened to her? She became a veterinarian. Very successful, I heard. Works with wild animals now." The man studied Elon's face. "You look familiar. Are you someone famous?" Elon smiled. "Just an old friend visiting." He bought a copy of Isaac Asimov's Foundation, the same book that had brought him and Amara together. As he walked back to the car, he felt like he was carrying a piece of the past with him. Next, they drove to Pretoria Boys High School. The school had expanded since Elon's time there, but the main building looked the same. Red brick walls and tall windows where he had stared out during boring math classes, dreaming of rockets and computers. "I wasn't very happy here," Elon told Marcus, his security chief, "but it's where I learned to dream big." From the school, they drove to the University of Pretoria. Elon walked through the campus where he and Amara had studied together. The library looked the same. The jacaranda trees were bigger now, their purple flowers creating a carpet on the ground. He found the bench where they used to sit and talk about their dreams. Someone had carved initials into the wood. TM plus SK forever. Elon wondered if his and Amara's initials were still carved somewhere on campus at the Johannesburg Zoo. Elon was recognized immediately by Dr. Sarah Matthews, the head veterinarian. "Mr. Musk, what an honor," she said, shaking his hand enthusiastically. "What brings you to our zoo?" "I'm looking for information about someone who used to work here," Elon said. "Dr. Amara Johansson, now Dr. Amara Malherbe." Dr. Matthews' expression grew serious. "Amara is a legend here. One of our most successful alumni. She developed revolutionary techniques for breeding endangered rhinos. Her work has saved hundreds of animals. Can you tell me more about her?" Dr. Matthews led him through the zoo as she talked. "Amara started volunteering here as a teenager in the 1980s. Even then, she was special. She could calm any animal just by talking to it." They stopped at the elephant exhibit. A mother elephant was playing with her baby in a pool of water. "That's Amara's work," Dr. Matthews said proudly. "She helped design this habitat. She believed animals should live as naturally as possible, even in captivity." "What else can you tell me about her personal life?" "She married Dr. James Malherbe in 2003. He was a good man, also a conservationist. They worked together for many years in Kruger National Park." Dr. Matthews' voice grew sad. "James died during the pandemic. COVID-19. Amara was heartbroken. And now she's sick herself. Some kind of autoimmune disease. Very rare. Very serious." Dr. Matthews looked at Elon carefully. "May I ask why you're interested in Amara?" "We were friends a long time ago," Elon said simply. "I'm going to visit her." Dr. Matthews smiled. "She'll be so happy to see you. Amara doesn't get many visitors these days. She lives alone at Skukuza, devoted to her work. Even while she's sick, she won't slow down." "What kind of work is she doing now?" "Anti-poaching operations, education programs for local children, breeding programs for endangered species." Dr. Matthews paused. "But I think her proudest achievement is what happened in 2019. "What happened?" "Poachers attacked her research station. They were after rhino horns. Amara fought them off with just a rifle and her courage. She was badly injured, broke her leg and hurt her back, but she saved 6 baby rhinos that night." Elon felt his chest tighten. While he had been launching rockets and building cars, Amara had been risking her life to save animals. "She's a hero," Dr. Matthews continued, "but she would never call herself that. She's the most humble person I know." As they walked back through the zoo, Dr. Matthews told more stories about Amara's work. How she had developed new ways to track poachers using technology. How she had built schools for children in villages near Kruger Park. how she had never stopped believing that humans and animals could live together peacefully. You know what's interesting? Dr. Matthews said as they reached the exit. Amara always talked about a friend from her teenage years, someone who inspired her to dream big. She said this friend was going to change the world someday. Did she ever mention a name? Elon. She always said her friend Elon would change the world. Dr. Matthews stopped walking. Her eyes grew wide. Wait a minute. Elon Musk. You're him, aren't you? You're Amara's friend Elon. Elon nodded slowly. Oh my goodness, Dr. Matthews said excitedly. She was right. You did change the world. Electric cars, space travel, everything. Amara is going to be so excited to see you. As Elon drove away from the zoo, his heart felt heavy and light at the same time. Heavy because Amara was sick and alone. Light because she had never stopped believing in him, even when he had disappeared from her life. The drive to Kruger National Park took 4 hours through beautiful African countryside, rolling hills covered with golden grass, acacia trees standing alone against the blue sky, small villages where children waved at passing cars. Elon had forgotten how beautiful South Africa was. In Austin and Los Angeles, he lived in a world of concrete and steel. Here, everything was alive and natural. As they got closer to Kruger, the landscape changed. More trees, more wildlife. They passed herds of zebras and antelopes grazing in the distance. Elon felt like he was entering another world. At the Paul Kruger gate, they stopped to check in. The park ranger looked at their paperwork and then at Elon. Mr. Musk? The real Elon Musk? The ranger asked in surprise. Yes, Elon said quietly. Welcome to Kruger National Park, sir. What brings you here? I'm visiting Dr. Amara Malherbe at Skukuza. The ranger's face lit up. Dr. Amara. She's amazing. We all love her here. She's done so much for our animals. Inside the park, the road was dusty and narrow. They passed elephants walking slowly beside the road. A family of warthogs crossed in front of their car. Monkeys sat in the trees, watching the vehicles pass. It's like a different planet, Marcus said, looking out at the wildlife. It's the planet we're supposed to protect. Elon replied that as they approached Skukuza rest camp, Elon's nerves returned. His hands were sweating. His heart was beating fast. In a few minutes, he would see Amara again after 20 years. What would she look like? What would they say to each other? What was the important secret she needed to tell him? The car stopped at the Skukuza Conservation Station. Through the dusty windshield, Elon could see a cluster of small buildings surrounded by trees. Solar panels gleamed on the roofs. A windmill turned slowly in the afternoon breeze. And there, in front of the main building, stood a woman in khaki clothing. She was kneeling beside a young rhino, feeding it from a bottle. Even from a distance, even after 20 years, Elon recognized her immediately. Her hair was shorter now, streaked with gray. She moved carefully, favoring her left leg. But her posture was the same. Her gentle way with animals was exactly as he remembered. That's her, Elon whispered that as their car approached. The woman looked up. Their eyes met through the windshield. Time stopped. 20 years disappeared. They were teenagers again, seeing each other for the first time in the bookstore on Church Street. Amara stood up slowly, her hand shading her eyes from the sun. A smile spread across her face, the same bright smile that had captured Elon's heart when he was 17 years old. He opened the car door and stepped out onto African soil. The sun was warm on his face. The air smelled like dust and grass and wild animals. Hello, Amara, he said softly. Hello, Elon, she replied. Welcome home. For a moment, neither of them moved. 20 years of separation hung in the air between them like morning mist. Then Amara smiled, and Elon felt 17 years old again. She looked different than he remembered, but still beautiful in her own way. Her face was thinner now, marked by years of working under the African sun. Gray streaks ran through her brown hair. Lines around her green eyes showed a life filled with both laughter and worry, but her smile was exactly the same, warm and genuine and full of life. You came, she said softly. I wasn't sure you would really come. I promised I would, Elon replied. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. They stood there awkwardly for a few seconds. How do you greet someone who was once your whole world? How do you bridge 20 years with a handshake or a hug? Amara solved the problem by stepping forward and embracing him gently. She felt smaller than he remembered, more fragile. but her hug was still warm and comforting. "You look good," she said, stepping back to study his face. "Older, but good. Success suits you. You look." Elon started, then stopped. He wanted to say she looked beautiful, but that seemed too personal. "You look happy." "I am happy," Amara said, "especially now that you're here." The young rhino she had been feeding wandered over to investigate the visitors. It nudged Elon's leg with its nose, looking for food. "This is Mandela," Amara said, scratching the rhino behind its ears. "His mother was killed by poachers when he was 3 months old. We've been raising him by hand." Elon knelt down to pet the rhino. Its skin felt rough and warm. "He's beautiful." "She," Amara corrected with a laugh. "Mandela is a girl. We named her after Nelson Mandela because she's a fighter, just like him." Marcus and the security team stood near their car, trying to look professional while watching their boss pet a baby rhino. Elon had forgotten they were there. "This is my security team," Elon said, gesturing toward the men. "I hope you don't mind them being here." "Of course not," Amara said, "but they might get bored. Not much happens here except feeding animals and watching for poachers." She led them toward the main building of the conservation station. It was simple but clean, made of wood and stone with a metal roof. Solar panels powered the lights and computers inside. "This is our research center," Amara explained as they walked. "We monitor animal populations, track poaching activities, and run education programs for local schools." The building was filled with maps, charts, and photographs of animals. Computer screens showed satellite images of the park. Radio equipment crackled with reports from rangers in the field. "It's impressive," Elon said, looking around. "How many people work here?" 12. "Full-time staff," Amara replied, "plus volunteers from universities around the world. We're always short-handed, but we make it work." She showed him through the facility, explaining their various programs. Her passion for the work was obvious in every word. She knew every animal by name, every conservation challenge by heart. "This is where we track the rhino population," she said, pointing to a large map covered with colored pins. "Each pin represents one rhino. We know where they are, how old they are, and whether they're healthy." "How many rhinos are left in the park?" Elon asked. "About 350 white rhinos and 200 black rhinos," Amara said. "It sounds like a lot, but 50 years ago there were thousands. Poaching has nearly wiped them out." Elon studied the map. Each pin represented a living animal fighting for survival. What can be done to save them? Better security, more rangers, technology to track poachers. Amara's voice grew passionate. "But mostly, we need to change people's minds. Make them understand that these animals are worth more alive than dead." They walked outside to see more of the facility. Behind the main building was a nursery for orphaned animals. Baby elephants played in a mud wallow. Young antelopes grazed in a fenced area. It was like a wildlife hospital and school combined. "We take in animals whose mothers were killed by poachers or cars," Amara explained. "We raise them until they're old enough to survive on their own." Elon watched a baby elephant spray water on itself with its trunk. "How do you decide when they're ready to be released?" "When they stop looking to us for everything," Amara said. "When they start acting like wild animals instead of pets." As the afternoon wore on, Amara showed Elon every part of her world. The veterinary clinic where she treated injured animals. The classroom where she taught local children about conservation. The workshop where rangers repaired their equipment. "You've built something amazing here," Elon said as they sat on a bench overlooking the Sabi River. Hippos floated in the water like gray rocks. Birds called from the trees along the bank. "It's not just me," Amara said modestly. "It takes a whole team. Rangers, veterinarians, researchers, educators. Everyone working together. But you're the leader. You're the one who makes it all happen." Amara smiled sadly. "Not for much longer. The disease is getting worse. I have good days and bad days. Today is a good day because you're here." For the first time since arriving, Elon really looked at her. Illness. She moved more slowly than she used to. Her left hand shook slightly when she wasn't thinking about it. Her breathing was sometimes labored. "Are you in pain?" he asked gently. "Sometimes. But pain medicine helps. And having work to do helps even more." She looked at him seriously. "I don't want you to feel sorry for me, Elon. I've had a wonderful life. I've done meaningful work. I've loved and been loved. Tell me about James." Elon said. Your husband. Amara's face softened. He was a good man, patient and kind and completely devoted to conservation. We worked together for 18 years. He understood my passion for animals because he shared it. How did you meet? At a conference in Cape Town. He was presenting research on elephant migration patterns. I was presenting on rhino breeding programs. She laughed softly. Very romantic, right? It sounds perfect for you. It was. James never minded that I worked long hours or traveled to dangerous places. He knew this work was part of who I am. She paused. Just like building rockets and electric cars is part of who you are. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the river flow by. The African sunset was beginning, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Elon, Amara said quietly, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you 20 years ago. Elon's heart started beating faster. This was it. The secret she had mentioned in her email. What is it? Amara took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking now, but not from the disease. She was nervous. After you left for Canada in 1989, I discovered something. Something that changed everything. What? I was pregnant, Elon. With your baby. The words hit him like a physical blow. Elon felt the world tilt around him. Pregnant. With his baby. 20 years ago. What happened? He whispered that Amara's eyes filled with tears. I was 18 years old and scared. You were gone, starting a new life in Canada. I didn't want to ruin your dreams. I didn't want to trap you with responsibilities you weren't ready for. So what did you do? I made the hardest decision of my life. I had an abortion. The words came out in a rush, like she had been holding them inside for decades. I never told anyone. Not my parents. Not James. Not even. The doctor knew who the father was. Elon stared at her, unable to speak. A baby. They had created a life together, and he had never known. I'm so sorry. Amara continued through her tears. I know I should have told you, but I was young and confused and I thought I was protecting you. A baby, Elon said finally. His voice was barely a whisper. I've regretted it every day since, Amara said. Not because the decision was wrong, but because I made it alone. I should have given you the choice. I should have trusted that. We could figure it out together. Elon felt tears running down his own cheeks. He thought about all the children he had now. 10 children with 3 different women. But none of them replaced the child he never knew existed. What would we have named it, he asked. I don't know. We never talked about baby names. Amara smiled through her tears. We were too busy arguing about Mars versus Earth. They sat together crying, mourning a child that never was and a future that never happened. 20 years of what-ifs hung heavy in the evening air. Do you hate me? Amara asked quietly. Elon took her hand in his. It felt small and fragile, but also strong. The hand that had saved hundreds of animals. The hand that had built a conservation empire. The hand that had carried a secret for 20 years. No, he said firmly. I could never hate you. You made an impossible choice in an impossible situation. I understand why you did it. But you're sad. Yes, I'm sad. But not angry. Just sad for what we lost. As the sun set over Kruger National Park, they held hands and remembered their teenage love. They talked about the child that might have been and the lives they had built instead. I need to ask you something, Elon said as darkness fell around them. What? If things had been different? If you had told me about the baby? If I had stayed in South Africa? Do you think we would have been happy? Amara considered the question carefully. I think we would have tried to be. But we were so young, Elon. We had such big dreams. Maybe having a baby would have made us resentful. Maybe we would have ended up hating each other. Or maybe we would have found a way to chase our dreams together. Maybe. But we'll never know. She squeezed his hand. What I do know is that you became everything you dreamed of becoming. You changed the world, just like you said you would. And I became everything I dreamed of becoming too. I saved animals and protected nature. But we lost each other. For a while. But look at us. Now. We found our way back to each other when it mattered most. As they walked back to the conservation station under the stars, Elon felt a strange sense of peace. The secret was out. The truth was told. Nothing could change the past, but maybe they could still shape the future. Amara, he said as they reached her small house. I want to help. With your work here. With your medical treatment. With whatever you need. You don't have to do that. I know I don't have to. I want to. She smiled in the darkness. Even after everything I just told you. especially after everything you just told me. Amara unlocked her front door and turned to face him. Would you like to come in? I'll make us some tea. We can talk more. Elon nodded. He wasn't ready for this day to end. He wasn't ready to stop learning about the remarkable woman Amara had become. I'd like that very much. As they stepped inside her simple home, Elon felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Not the thrill of closing a business deal or launching a rocket. Something quieter but deeper that he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Amara's house was small but comfortable. The walls were covered with photographs of animals she had saved over the years. Baby elephants, injured cheetahs, orphaned rhinos. Each picture told a story of rescue and hope. Tea or coffee? Amara asked, moving slowly to her small kitchen. Whatever you're having, Elon replied, still looking around the room. On her bookshelf, he spotted a worn copy of Isaac Asimov's Foundation, the same book he had given her 35 years ago. Next to it were medical journals, conservation reports, and children's books about African animals. You kept it, he said, touching the book gently. I told you I read it every year, Amara said from the kitchen. It reminds me of you, of us, of that argument we had about space versus Earth. Elon opened the book. On the first page, in his teenage handwriting, were the words, For Amara, who taught me that some dreams are worth staying earthbound for. Love, Elon. December 1989. He had forgotten writing that, but seeing his own words now, 20 years later, made his chest feel tight. I was so young when I wrote this, he said. We both were, Amara replied, bringing 2 cups of rooibos tea to the living room. Young and full of impossible dreams. They sat on her small couch, the same way they used to sit in the university library. But everything was different now. They were older, sadder, carrying the weight of choices that couldn't be undone. Tell me about the baby, Elon said quietly. When did you find out? Amara set down her teacup with shaking hands. This was still hard for her to talk about, even after carrying the secret for so long. 3 weeks after you left for Canada. I missed my period, but I thought it was just stress from you leaving. Then another week passed, and I knew. What did you feel when you found out? Scared, excited, confused, everything at once. Amara's voice was soft, remembering. Part of me was happy. It meant I would always have a piece of you with me. But part of me was terrified. I was 18 years old with no money and no plan. Elon tried to imagine how frightened she must have been. Alone in South Africa, carrying his child, with no way to contact him. Did you think about telling me? Every day? I wrote so many letters that I never sent. I would start with, Dear Elon, I have something important to tell you. But then I would. Think about your dreams. About how hard you had worked to get to Canada. About how a baby would change everything. It would have changed everything, Elon agreed. But maybe that wouldn't have been bad. Amara looked at him with surprise. Really? You don't think it would have ruined your life? Elon was quiet for a long moment, thinking, I don't know. Maybe. I would never have started PayPal or Tesla or SpaceX. Maybe I would have stayed in South Africa and become a computer programmer or an engineer. And you would have been miserable. You were meant for bigger things, Elon. But maybe I was meant for other things too. Maybe I was meant to be a father to our child. Maybe I was meant to build a life with you. They both sat with that thought. The weight of what could have been filled the small room like evening shadows. What was the procedure like? Elon asked gently. He needed to understand what she had gone through alone. Amara's eyes filled with tears again. It was at a clinic in Johannesburg. I told them I was single and couldn't afford a baby. They were kind, but efficient. It was over in an hour. Were you alone? Yes. I couldn't tell my parents. I couldn't tell my friends. I just went by myself and came home by myself. Elon felt anger rising in his chest. Not at Amara, but at the situation. At himself for leaving. At the world for being so hard on young people in love. I should have been there, he said firmly. You shouldn't have had to face that alone. But you didn't know. I made sure you didn't know. That doesn't make it right. You were protecting me. But who was protecting you? Amara wiped her eyes with a tissue. I was protecting myself too. I knew that if I told you, you might come back. You might give up your dreams for me. And then one day you might resent me for it. I would never have resented you. You say that now. But we were teenagers, Elon. We thought love was enough to solve any problem. We didn't understand how hard life could be. Elon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could hear night sounds of the African bush. Insects chirping. Something large moving through the trees. It was peaceful, but also wild and dangerous. Do you ever wonder what the baby would have looked like? He asked. All the time. Would it have had your eyes or mine? Your hair or mine? Would it have been good at math like you? Or good with animals like me? Would it have been a boy or a girl? I don't know. I never asked the doctor. I didn't want to make it more real than it already was. Elon turned back to face her. Have you thought about names? Sometimes. When I see babies at the clinic or in town, I wonder. Maybe Sarah if it was a girl. Maybe David if it was a boy. Simple names. Strong names. Sarah Musk. David Musk. Elon tried out the names, imagining a child that never existed. They sound good. Sarah Johansson Musk. David Johansson Musk. Amara corrected. I would have wanted the baby to have both our names. They sat in silence again, both lost in thoughts of a different life. A life where they were young parents struggling but happy. A life where Elon never became a billionaire, but maybe became something better. Can I ask you something personal? Amara said. Of course. Your children now. The 10 you have with different women. Do you love them? Elon thought about his kids. Some he saw regularly. Others lived far away with their mothers. Some were too young to really know him yet. I love them all, he said. But I'm not a very good father. I work too much. I travel too much. I'm always distracted by the next project or the next crisis. Why do you think that is? I don't know. Maybe because I never learned how to balance work and family. Maybe because I'm afraid of getting too close to people. Or maybe because you've been missing something your whole life, Amara suggested. Gently. Maybe losing our baby created a hole in your heart that you've been trying to fill ever since. Elon stared at her. He had never thought about it that way, but it made sense. All his relationships had failed. All his attempts at family had been complicated. Maybe he had been searching for something he lost before he even knew he had it. Do you think that's why I never stayed married? He asked. I think you've been looking for something you can't name. Something you lost here in South Africa when you were 18 years old. But I found success. I built companies that are changing the world. Success isn't the same as happiness, Elon. You can have all the money and fame in the world, but if your heart is broken, nothing else matters. A radio crackled in the distance. Rangers reporting in from their night patrols. Everything was quiet. In the park, no poachers detected. All animals safe for another night. What about you? Elon asked. Did losing our baby affect your other relationships? Amara nodded slowly. I think it made me afraid to get pregnant again. James and I tried for years to have children. When we finally succeeded, I was so scared something would go wrong. But you had 2 children, Emma and Lucas. Yes, and I loved them completely. But I was an overprotective mother. I worried about everything. Every fever, every scraped knee, every moment they were out of my sight. That's normal for mothers. Not like this. I was terrified of losing them the way I lost our baby. Even though the situations were completely different. Elon understood. Trauma didn't follow logic. It just left scars that never fully healed. Do your children know about us? About the baby? No. James knew I had a serious boyfriend before him, but I never told him details. And Emma and Lucas know you exist because you're famous, but they don't know we were ever connected. Will you tell them? Amara considered this. Maybe. If they ask about my past, I might tell them about the boy who taught me to dream big. The boy who became Elon Musk. The night was getting late, but neither of them wanted this conversation to end. There was so much to say, so many years to bridge. Amara, Elon said carefully, I need to ask you something difficult. What? Do you regret the choice you made? If you could go back, would you do it differently? Amara was quiet for a long time. This was the question she had been asking herself for 20 years. I regret not telling you, she said finally. I regret making the decision alone. But do I regret the choice itself? I don't know. If I had kept the baby, you might never have achieved everything you've achieved. The world might never have gotten Tesla or SpaceX. But you might have been happier. Maybe. Or maybe we would have struggled and fought and ended up divorced anyway. Maybe our child would have grown up with parents who resented each other. Or maybe we would have found a way to make it work. Maybe we would have been happy. We'll never know, Elon. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some questions don't have answers. A loud trumpeting sound came from outside. Elephants calling to each other in the darkness. Amara smiled at the sound. They do that every night, she explained. The elephant families check in with each other. making sure everyone is safe. Like a roll call. Exactly. They never leave anyone behind. Elon thought about that. Elephants taking care of their families, making sure no one was lost or forgotten. It was what he and Amara should have done for each other 20 years ago. I want to help, he said suddenly. Help with what? With your medical treatment. With this conservation work. With whatever you need. Elon's voice grew stronger. I know I can't change the past. I can't bring back our baby or give us those 20 lost years. But I can be here now. Elon, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Not because I feel guilty, but because I want to. Because this work matters. Because you matter. Amara looked at him with surprise. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to take a break from my companies. I want to stay here and learn about conservation. I want to help save the animals you've dedicated your life to protecting. But what about Tesla? SpaceX? Your rocket to Mars? Elon smiled. Mars will still be there next year. But you might not be. And these animals might not be. Some things are more important than space travel. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Amara stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. The billionaire CEO who could buy anything he wanted was offering to give up his empire to save animals in Africa. Why? She whispered. Because you were right all those years ago. Before we can colonize other planets, we need to learn how to take care of this one. And I want to learn from the best teacher I know. Elon, teach me, Amara. Like you did when we were 18. Challenge my ideas. Make me think differently. Show me how to save the world the right way. For the first time since Elon had arrived, Amara looked truly happy. Not sad or tired or sick, but genuinely excited. Are you really willing to do this? To put your companies second for once? For you? For this work? Yes. Amara reached across the couch and took his hand. Then welcome to the team, partner. As they shook hands like business partners sealing a deal, both of them felt something shift. The weight of the past was still there, but it no longer felt crushing. Instead, it felt like foundation stones for building something new, something that honored both their dreams. Something that could heal the world and their hearts at the same time. Outside, the elephants called to each other again, taking care of their families, making sure no one was left behind. This time, Elon and Amara were ready to answer that call. The next morning came early at Skukuza. Before sunrise, the radio crackled with urgent voices. Rangers were reporting movement near the southern fence. Poachers with vehicles and weapons heading toward the rhino grazing area. Amara was out of bed instantly, despite her illness. She grabbed her radio and started coordinating the response. Unit 3 moved to Grid 7. Unit 5 blocked the access. Road. All units, weapons ready but do not engage unless threatened. She spoke quickly into the radio. Elon watched in amazement as Amara transformed from a sick woman into a military commander. Her voice was strong and confident. Her movements were precise despite her shaking hands. Can I help? Elon asked. Do you know how to use a drone? Amara asked, pointing to a high-tech device on her desk. I build rockets. I think I can handle a drone. Amara smiled. Connected to the laptop. We need eyes in the sky to track the poachers. For the next 2 hours, they worked together like a team. Elon flew the drone while Amara directed rangers on the ground. They used satellite technology from SpaceX to track the poachers' vehicles. They used Tesla's battery technology to power their communication equipment. It was like their teenage argument about Mars versus Earth had finally found its answer. Space technology helping to save Earth's animals. There, Elon pointed to his laptop screen. 3 vehicles heading north. They're trying to escape through the river crossing. Unit 7, intercept at the river, Amara radioed. They're coming your way. 20 minutes later, the radio crackled with good news. Command, this is Unit 7. We have them. For poachers in custody. No animals harmed. Amara leaned back in her chair, exhausted but victorious. Another successful night. You do this all the time? Elon asked. 2 or 3 times a week. Poachers never stop trying. So we never stop fighting them. Elon was amazed. While he had been worrying about stock prices and rocket launches, Amara had been fighting a war to save endangered species. I want to learn everything, he said. How to track animals, how to stop poachers, how to run conservation programs. Will you teach me? It's not glamorous work, Elon. No magazine covers or TV interviews. Just hard, dangerous, sometimes boring work. I don't care about glamour anymore. I care about making a real difference. Over the next 3 days, Amara became Elon's teacher again. She showed him how to feed baby rhinos and treat injured elephants. She taught him about animal behavior and ecosystem balance. She explained how local communities could benefit from conservation instead of poaching. Elon was fascinated by everything. He asked endless questions and took detailed notes. At night, he worked on his laptop, designing new technologies that could help with conservation efforts. What if we use solar-powered cameras with AI recognition? He suggested. They could identify poachers automatically and alert rangers. That's brilliant, Amara said. But expensive. Money isn't the problem. Implementation is. We need to make it simple enough for rangers to use and maintain. They worked together on plans for improving the conservation station, better solar power systems, faster communication networks, drones that could patrol automatically at night. But Elon also learned about the human side of conservation. On their 3rd day, Amara took him to a nearby village to meet local children. Conservation only works if local people benefit from it, she explained as they drove. If villagers make money from tourism and jobs, they help protect animals. If they're poor and desperate, they turn to poaching. The village school was a simple concrete building with a metal roof. 30 children sat on wooden benches, eager to learn. Amara had been visiting this school for 10 years, teaching kids about wildlife. Dr. Amara, the children shouted excitedly when she arrived. Did you bring pictures of the baby elephants? Even better, Amara said with a smile. I brought a friend who builds rockets. The children stared at Elon with wide eyes. He felt nervous. He was used to talking to engineers and investors, not 8-year-old kids. Tell them about space, Amara encouraged. Well, Elon began slowly. Space is very big and very far away. But someday, people might live on other planets. A little girl raised her hand. Why do people want to live on other planets when this planet has elephants? Elon was stunned. This 8-year-old had asked the same question Amara had asked him 35 years ago. That's a very smart question, he said. Maybe we should take better care of this planet first. After the school visit, they drove back through the park in comfortable silence. Elon was thinking about the little girl's question, about priorities and purposes and what really mattered. She reminded me of you, he told Amara, challenging my assumptions about space travel. Children are honest. They ask the questions adults are afraid to ask. I've been thinking, Elon said, about what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I want to make a public announcement. I want to step back from day-to-day operations at Tesla and SpaceX. I want to focus on conservation work. Amara looked at him in shock. Elon, you can't be serious. Those companies need you. They have good teams. They can run without me for a while. But this work needs me too, and I need it. What would you tell the world? Why would Elon Musk suddenly become interested in saving rhinos? Elon smiled. I'd tell them the truth. That I once knew someone who taught me that before we can colonize other planets, we need to learn how to take care of this one. That I lost touch with that person, but I found her again. And I want to spend whatever time we have left working together to protect the incredible life we have here on Earth. Amara pulled the car over to the side of the road. Tears were streaming down her face. You would really do that? Give up everything for conservation work? Not give up. Redirect. Use my resources and influence for something that matters more than quarterly profits. But your Mars mission, your dream of making humanity multiplanetary. Mars will still be there in a few years. But Earth's animals might not be. And you definitely won't be. Amara was crying harder now. I don't want to be the reason you abandon your dreams. You're not abandoning my dreams. You're helping me remember what my real dreams were supposed to be. They sat in the car holding hands while a family of zebras grazed nearby. The animals seemed peaceful and content, unaware that humans were fighting to protect their future. If you're really serious about this, Amara said finally, I have an idea. What? We start a foundation. The Amara Johansson Conservation Foundation, with $1 billion endowment. Money that will keep this work going long after I'm gone. I love it. But I want to change one thing about the name. What? The Amara and Elon Foundation for Planetary Conservation. Because this work belongs to both of us now. Amara smiled through her tears. I like that better. 2 days later, Elon called a press conference. News reporters from around the world flew to Johannesburg. The announcement was broadcast live on television and internet. Standing beside Amara at the Skukuza Conservation Station, with baby rhinos playing in the background, Elon made the speech that would change his life forever. "I'm here today to announce a new direction for my work," he said, looking directly into the cameras. "For years, I've been focused on getting humanity to Mars. That's still important. But I've learned something even more important." He paused and looked at Amara, who stood beside him wearing her simple khaki uniform. "I once knew someone who taught me that before we can colonize other planets, we need to learn how to take care of this one. I lost touch with that person for 20 years. But I found her again, here in South Africa, doing the most important work in the world." The reporters were frantically taking notes. This was not the kind of announcement they expected. From Elon Musk, Dr. Amara Malherbe has dedicated her life to saving endangered species, Elon continued. "She's developed new techniques for rhino conservation. She's fought off poachers with her bare hands. She's built schools and trained rangers and protected thousands of animals." Amara looked embarrassed by the praise, but Elon continued. "Today, I'm announcing the creation of the Amara and Elon Foundation for Planetary Conservation, with an initial endowment of $1 billion. This foundation will work to protect endangered species, fight poaching, and educate communities about conservation." The reporters started shouting questions, but Elon wasn't finished. "I'm also announcing that I'm taking a sabbatical from Tesla and SpaceX to work directly on conservation efforts. I want to learn from Dr. Malherbe. I want to use technology to solve conservation problems. I want to help save the incredible life we have here on Earth." A reporter shouted, "Mr. Musk, why are you giving up your space program for animal conservation?" Elon smiled and put his arm around Amara's shoulders. "Because sometimes the most important journeys aren't to other planets. Sometimes they're back to the place where your heart learned to dream." The video of that press conference went viral within hours. #Planetary Conservation trending worldwide. News outlets called it Elon's Earth Awakening and the Billionaires' Conservation Revolution. But for Elon and Amara, standing together in the African bush they both loved, it felt like something much simpler. It felt like coming home. That evening, they sat by the Sabi River watching elephants drink water. The same river where they had scattered the ashes of their shared dreams 20 years ago. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Amara asked. "I think we did the only thing that made sense," Elon replied. "Your disease is getting worse. We don't know how much time we have left. But whatever time we have, we're going to spend it saving the world together." "Together," Amara repeated. "I like the sound of that." As the African sun set over Kruger National Park, Elon Musk and Amara Johansson began planning their greatest collaboration. Not rockets to Mars, but programs to save Earth. Not quarterly profits, but protecting endangered species. Not individual success, but shared purpose. The boy who dreamed of space and the girl who loved animals had finally found their common mission. And for the first time in 20 years, both of their hearts felt complete. The last scene shows them 6 months later at a new conservation facility in Austin, Texas, where Amara is consulting on solar-powered water purification systems for African wildlife reserves. Her medical condition has stabilized with advanced treatments, giving them precious additional time together. Their teenage argument about space versus Earth was never about choosing sides. It was about finding balance. Together, they were working to heal the planet while still reaching for the stars. The foundation they created would continue their work long after they were both gone. But for now, in this moment, they had each other and a shared dream that was bigger than either of them alone. Under the Texas sky that reminded them both of Africa, Elon and Amara were finally home. That was the end of this incredible journey of love, loss, and redemption. Elon and Amara's path from teenage sweethearts to conservation partners shows us that it's never too late to reconnect with what truly matters. That we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below and tell us your location. We read every single one and love connecting with our amazing global community. If this tale touched your heart, please hit that like button. It really helps us reach more people who might need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content about real people, real emotions, and the power of human connection. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. In a world that often feels divided, These moments of kindness and second chances remind us what's truly important. Let's spread awareness about conservation, the value of following your heart, and the beautiful truth that love can find its way back even after decades apart. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring the extraordinary in the ordinary. Until next time, keep believing in the power of love, dreams, and never giving up on what matters most.